Welcome back into the studio. This is a pastel drawing of a clouded leopard. I had the reference photo from wildlifereferencephotos.com. And in this video I'm just going to give you a brief overview of my technique that I use for the background and the clouded leopard as well. So I'm using pastelmat paper and pan pastels for the underlayer. And I'm just mixing the pans on just normal inkjet printer paper. Nothing special about it at all, and you can mix them kind of like oils so you can get just the right colour and tonal value that you want. There's various tools, and the ones that last the longest are the ones that are like finger shaped sponges. They really last a long time. The small ones like knife shape, they do wear out really fast. They're good for fine details, but for the initial blocking in, the bigger sponges are certainly more efficient and do really last a lot longer. As you can see, getting the underlayer in place, not putting down too much pastel, and here I'm using pastel sticks as well. So all the pastels are intermixable. You can use your pan pastels and your soft pastel sticks and your pencils all together, and I show that in lots of different videos using lots of different supplies, so you don't have to go out and buy all these different supplies. You can make do with, you know, the ones that you've actually got. Here I'm using some soft pastels and pencils, putting in that fantastic nose that these clouded leopards have. And the underlayer is always thinly applied. It may look like I'm putting down a lot, but I'm really not. And I usually rub it in with my fingers as well, so that, you know, I've got plenty of tooth of the paper left to build details on top. The underlayer is normally just that bit darker than I want the finished drawing to actually look. As you can see, I use pencils for the detailing. And that's a great benefit with something like soft pastels or pan pastels for the underlayer. Obviously your pencils then last a lot longer because you're not wearing them out. Here I've got a close-up of the eyes going in, putting in the darks first and that lovely warm colour at the base. Eyes never look like they're alive until you get the highlights in, and I've left a little area there, just putting in some blue now, the pupil, and then the highlight that really does instantly bring them to life. And the same with the other eye, but it's a lot more subdued and subtle. Now the background I wanted quite colourful and surreal. I'm using the sticks. If you wanted to be very opaque, the sticks are much more opaque than pan pastels, but I could just as easily have used pan pastels in this case. With the sticks I like to blend in with my fingers, but you can also use the pan pastel tools to blend the sticks. So see what I mean about things being interchangeable. Keeping the background nice and soft so the details on the clouded leopard make it look like it's coming forwards. And now I'm starting what I'd call more of the texture and details going in. So I'm putting in the spots, and then I'm putting in the dark areas of the fur, and then I start to put the highlights on top of that, and that gives that feeling of depth to the fur. Same over on this section, getting the spots and the markings in place, using some glassine paper to rest my hand on, and then going in with the textures of the fur, and then the highlights again on top. Now obviously on my Patreon art channel this lesson is something like 2 or 3 hours long if I remember correctly, so I really go into depth then on exactly my techniques. There's lots of real-time footage on there as well, but on this video I just wanted to give you, as I said, a brief overview so you can see how I develop and layer colours and tones to create that fur technique, that fur appearance. Here I'm putting in some of the darks on the fur. You see I'm making sure I'm going in that fur direction because it's changing in lots of areas as it's taking the shape of the musculature and the skeleton underneath the actual fur itself. Gradually going lighter and lighter, which is giving me that effect of sunlight coming down on areas of the fur. can see how it all twists and turns. Keeping plenty of colours going in there as well to make this a nice rich portrait. And then going even lighter on top of the bridge of the nose. Now, fur technique is all about layering. I've got loads and loads of real-time videos on YouTube, and as I said, on my Patreon channel I think is well over 100 videos just on pastel technique, with everything from the absolute complete beginner all the way up to super advanced on there. And things are not really as difficult as they look. Obviously you've got to learn a few techniques, and then there's a bit of experience required as well. But once you've learnt those techniques, you can apply them to any other subject, anything that interests you. I'm not in the game to just make you follow exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to give you the skills so you can do the subjects that interest you, because everybody has got a certain interest. That could be pet portraits, dogs, cats, horses. You can apply all these techniques to those as well. Getting that real black in place, that makes it look much more contrasty, more three-dimensional when you've got a high tonal range. So that's from your lightest light to your darkest dark. And they're putting in some of the muzzle as well, going a lot lighter there, but not white. Okay, I reserve the whites usually for the final strokes, if they're even needed. Very often you don't even need a pure white. Other than around the eyes and the muzzle, everything else really blurs out, especially going backwards towards the neck. Once again, that gives a much more three-dimensional appearance by having that blur on the neck, and then even more blur on the background. You see, once again, going in with that extremely dark black. That's actually a new pastel stick, NU pastel. More recently I now use the Cretacolor black chalk. I find that even easier to use. You see, I like to get the reference really close by the drawing if possible. My brain doesn't need to compute that much then when I'm looking a long way away to my drawing. The closer I get it, the easier it is to see the differences. And I like to get a really good quality printout as well. Okay, a few more of the whiskers, more of the details, coming down onto the chin as well. And then making sure I get that nice soft subtle blend on the neck. And they add in some darks because the neck is really in much more of a subdued shadow area. Okay, see that I'm really blending everything I'm putting on the neck. I'm touching it with my fingers then to give that subtle blend. Same on the ear, keeping that nice and soft as well. And then a few whiskers going in also. So I'm using quite a sharp pencil there, because these whiskers are really quite well defined. And then thickening up a few of them even more. Not everywhere, but just in the places where the light is catching the whiskers. And then a few more up here as well. It's quite a steady hand. I'm just using very light pressure. You see, and just a slight touch will help to soften them as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this. As I said, this is just a brief overview, but it's sometimes interesting to see, you know, quite quickly how a drawing develops, and you can see the layering on there as well. Lots and lots of videos on my Patreon art channel, and for the last few minutes I'm just going to talk a bit more about Patreon. And we've got over 1,500 members at the moment, 2022, and I'd love to see you there as well. Just wanted to quickly mention my Patreon channel for those looking for even more in-depth art instruction. It's packed full of pastel videos oil videos as well, and those videos are being added to new ones every single month. I have videos for the complete beginner that have never done pastels or oils before with just limited supplies, and I take you from the very first blocking in all the way through to the final detailed drawings and paintings. I've also got some really unusual subjects as well, and in all of my videos I always take you through all the details. You see everything I do, how I create my work. But it's not just for beginners, it's also for novices, and I also show the best artwork that I've ever done as well. And this particular elephant video spans 6 hours, so you know you're going to see tons and tons of details, tips and techniques. And as mentioned, I've got lots of oil videos on there too, so there really is something for everybody, and you get access to hundreds of hours worth of videos for just $4. Now over 1,000 members strong. Hope to see you there soon.